Hi there, it's Sherry Shattuck, aka Catherine in Death Spa. If you thought I was scary then, you should see me now. So Tommy wanted to let me know that all he really wants is a good interview and a blowjob, to which I respond, who doesn't? So I know you're wondering, like me, which one Tommy will get. So tune in soon and enjoy the show.
Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today, I will be welcoming a very talented actress who you may remember from episodes of Seinfeld and the classic B-erotic thrillers, the body chemistry movies. I am talking about Lisa Pescia. Yes, the gorgeous and talented Lisa Pescia is coming on the show today, and I can't wait to have her on and talk about her career in TV and film. And she's done some pretty eclectic roles and eclectic things. Also, I'd like to clarify, I had Paula Marshall on the show this morning, and she wanted me to bring up that it's Tony Abson, not Bill Alderson, that is her favorite acting teacher. I'm sure she likes them both, but Tony Abson is her favorite. So, here is my interview with Lisa Pescia.
Hey, is this Tommy?
Yes, it sure is.
Hello.
How are you doing today, Lisa?
I'm okie dokie. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Got a little bit of sunshine outside, so I'm pretty happy.
Oh, yeah? You're in Redding, California, huh?
Yes, unfortunately.
Why do you say that?
I'd rather be...
The sunshine.
I'd rather be in Los Angeles.
Well, I don't know about that, but it's trying to be sunny here. It's not quite. It's kind of nice, actually. It's cool. Anyway, weather report. That's the weather report from LA.
Yeah, even with the craziness over there, I'd rather be there. But this is such a great honor. Thank you for taking the time today.
Well, thank you for asking me. That's very sweet of you.
Oh, absolutely. So, going back in time, I was reading that you were originally a dancer and a classical flute player. Was that the original trajectory you were on, to do something in those fields?
Well, that's hysterical. Where did you read that?
I'm trying to remember. It was either IMDb or Wikipedia.
Really?
Yeah, one of the two.
No, I had a Wikipedia page. Well, yeah, actually it is true. When I was a little kid, I wanted to be a dancer, and I didn't really have any formal college training for theater, because I was, I just kind of bounced around. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so for a while, I was going to be a psychologist, and then I was going to be a dancer, and then, I just sort of stumbled into acting.
I could see the psychologist part because of body chemistry.
Yeah, actually, that's true. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, I think it was more just an interest in why people do things. I think that was how I kind of ended up, sliding into acting.
Mm-hmm.
Relatively late. I mean, not too late, but my 20s rather than, a lot of kids start when they're little, or they're like teenagers or whatever. So I was kind of late coming to the party, but and the flute, I used to love to play the flute. God, I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the marching band, in high school, and I played the piccolo too, because I was like, the first chair flute player, and I used to love to practice. I would do it all day long, just sit in my room and practice scales over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it.
Wow. Were you in marching band in school?
Yeah, I was in the marching band. I was in the high school marching band.
Yeah, I heard in the band you had all the nerds, and in the drama you had the drama nerds, and you had to be one or the other. Yeah.
Well, I hadn't really done much in terms of drama at that point, but I was definitely a nerd. I was also French Club president, and, I took really good care to get good grades and that kind of thing. So, yeah, I was that kind of kid.
Yeah, I mean, I did drama in high school, and I wasn't accepted fully by them or any crowd, really. You had, in drama, you had the rich kids in the drama, and you had the kind of free-spirited outcasts, and that's what I considered myself, but for some reason they didn't like me very much, mainly because I was just outspoken with no filter.
Yeah, well, they didn't like you because you were a free spirit. You were out there. I kind of felt the same way. I mean, did you grow up in Reading?
No, I'm born and raised in San Francisco.
Oh, wow. That's where I went 2 years of college.
Yes, that's what I was gonna get to. That so after you graduated, you went right to San Francisco.
Well, yeah, but let's get back to you for a second.
Okay.
So you were in a big city. I mean, I grew up in a tiny little town in North Carolina.
Yes.
That was attached to a Marine Corps base, Camp Lejeune.
Mm-hmm.
And I left when I was 18 years old because I had that same, nerdy free spirit thing happening, and I just wanted to get out, But I ended up going to San Francisco. I went, my second year of college, I went to Mexico because I really just wanted to get away.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a foreign exchange student in Mexico. That's where I, kind of claimed that I was going to be a dancer.
Mm-hmm.
I also brought my flute with me, and I would, go off on these trips into the jungle and bring my flute and play my flute. I was like a free spirit hippie kind of girl.
Yeah.
And then I ended up in San Francisco, and that was where I first kind of got introduced to acting. God, I love San Francisco. It is one of my favorite places to be. And I still try to go back there once a year. So you're really lucky that you grew up there.
I loved it when I was a kid, up until I was about 26, and then after that, it just was not the same again once the dot-commers really took it over. I grew up, in San Mateo, and I went to San Mateo High School, which is where so many famous people went to. Chris Christopherson, Barry Bostwick. My mom graduated in the same class with Dennis Haysbert.
Oh, wow.
Yes, they were friends, and I got to meet them when I was 5. They had a reunion picnic, class reunion picnic, where everyone brought their families, and I got to take a picture with him when I was 5.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, and she still talks to him, too. She still talks to him. But, yeah.
That's great.
It's San Mateo was a really good drama school, and sadly, nobody from my generation is in Hollywood. Other than we had a couple filmmakers at my school that are in Hollywood. One's an Emmy Award winner recently, and there were so many great actors in drama that I thought was going to make it, and I guess that wasn't their trajectory, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, that happens. I mean, I have a lot of people in my life that, got off course because, they had families, they decided that was more important, or, whatever. I mean, people, basically you have to live your life, and so,
yeah.
if you're gonna work as an actor, that's a pretty full-time job, and it takes a lot of your attention and a lot of your energy and focus, so you
Right.
you have to just go where you're the happiest, and but in any case, yeah, it sounds like you had a great upbringing there. I was only there for 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
and 2 of them were, do you remember this college? It was kind of an alternative, they didn't have tests. It was a pass-fail kind of college called Antioch.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So that was where I went in San Francisco. It was Antioch West, and it was over by Mission Street somewhere. I can't remember exactly where, but they didn't have a campus or anything. You basically went out and you figured out what you wanted to study, and you would go find these classes and take the classes, and they would be affiliated with the school and be accredited to the school. And so, like, when I got a job bartending, I said that was part of my psychology training, because I was my human studies, you know?
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, good. So I can get some college credit for bartending. This is great. But that was how I got into acting, because I met this guy, and he was an actor, and he said, hey, why don't you come to my acting class and watch me act? And I said, okay, yeah. And so I went to his class, and, you know, I thought, this is kind of interesting. I might be able to do this, you know. So then I joined the class, and people said, wow, you're pretty good, you know, and I believed them. So that was how I kind of fell into it.
They weren't wrong, I'll tell you.
Well, that's very sweet of you to say. The judgment is still out on that call.
Oh, don't be hard on yourself. Don't be.
You know.
Yeah.
But it was, God, some of the best years of my life being in San Francisco.
Yeah. Did you spend a lot of time in the Haight and going to concerts and stuff?
No, not really. I don't know. What was I doing? I was working. I was always like either being a cocktail waitress or a bartender somewhere, and I would go to classes in the daytime, and I'd go to some classes over in Berkeley. But it was before what you're talking about with the .com. It was before that whole period, because I heard the same thing as what you said, that kind of ruined what was going on there in many ways. Certainly made it more expensive.
Well, the Haight is a sewer now, I'll tell you.
Is it?
It is. A couple of months after I got out of the hospital from having a car accident, I went there with a friend. We went to this little outdoor concert that was going on there, and we went to this McDonald's. And, oh my God, this rude-ass woman, she saw that I had 2 canes that I was walking with because I had a broken leg and everything. She deliberately, like, pushed me out of the way, and I'm lucky I did not fall or anything. And I was so fucking pissed. I was just about to say something and shit, and my friend was like, no, let's just get the hell out of here, because she looks like she's about to go postal. I mean, she was really, really mad. She wanted to, like, complain to them, you know, about something. Yeah.
Wow.
It was
That's
bad.
Terrible.
Yeah.
When I was there, I mean, the people were just the nicest. They were just everybody was just so welcoming, and
yeah, not anymore.
For me, it was like the first time I was ever in a big city, you know, coming from North Carolina. So I was really proud. I felt like I was home, that, you know, it was my city, and everybody was just gracious and lovely and nice. But, you know, that was a different time. So
yeah,
maybe it's changed.
I graduated high school a few months before 9/11, and I have not seen that city the same since. It is just terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But
sorry to hear that.
It's okay. It's okay. But did being in San Francisco, though, is that what got your acting juices flowing?
Well, I was studying with I don't know if you ever remember hearing about Jean Shelton. Did you ever hear of the Jean Shelton Acting School?
That name sounds a little familiar.
Well, now she's on Sutter near Powell, but she used to be in Berkeley with her former husband, a guy named Wendell Phillips. And Wendell, they divorced, and when they divorced, they split up the school. And he decided to go on his own and create, like, his own company. And so I went with him over to San Francisco, and we had the old press club, which was right at the corner of Sutter and it was Sutter and Powell. That's where her new studio is now, but it's not the same building, but it's the same area. Anyway, we were on the top floor, and, I had just really started studying acting. I was pretty new to it, and he automatically threw me into teaching. And I was like, okay, yeah. So I started teaching there, and he had a daughter named Wendy Phillips. Do you remember Wendy Phillips?
Oh yeah, she had like a gap in her teeth, and she was really pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was his daughter.
Oh.
So she would come, and he had just kind of started working in Los Angeles, and so he would come and talk to us and, give us little lectures about L.A. and what L.A. was like.
Yeah.
And eventually I just thought, I guess if I'm going to do this thing, I'm probably going to have to go to L.A. or New York. And I was a little scared to make the jump all the way over to New York, and so I thought, yeah, L.A. will probably be a little bit of an easier transition, so I'll just move down there.
I'm surprised Oh, go ahead.
I was just to say, I don't think I really took into consideration how big a jump that was going to be,
Yeah, you didn't want to go to New York?
Well, in hindsight, I kind of wish I had, because I think my energy would have been better for New York, but at the time, I just thought, I'm on the West Coast, I love the West Coast, I should just stay over here, and so it'll be easier for me to go to Los Angeles. But I wasn't really thinking realistically about the business. I wasn't really, like I said, I was just somebody who kind of stumbled into it. People said I was good. I believed them, and I just kind of jumped in, Yeah. Whereas most people, have a lot of training. They're prepared. They have some connections. They have, something going before they come here, because you realize that this is like coming into the deep end of the pool, and I just was very optimistic and kind of, probably arrogant, and just thought, I'll just do it.
Yeah.
Now I teach. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I talk to these young students. I teach mostly internationally, and they all want to come to Hollywood because everybody has the Hollywood dream. And I say to them, listen, I came to LA. I didn't know anybody, didn't have any money, didn't have any connections, didn't have hardly any training, and I've done all right. I'm not exactly where I'd like to be, but I've done okay, for myself. So you can learn from me, because I'm going to tell you all the mistakes I made. And you're going to be able to benefit from those mistakes, so you don't do the same thing when you arrive in Los Angeles. So that's actually been a kind of successful formula, for me, because they realize that I'm telling them the straight truth. I'm not trying to sugarcoat things.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they even lectured you about L.A. because it seems like all the actors I've interviewed from your generation, they came out to L.A. just completely naive because it wasn't taught to them the business side when they were in those acting classes.
It was not.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. It was not. That's true. And I guess you're right. Maybe I should give myself a break on that, because you're absolutely right. Because I remember, I studied at the Beverly Hills Playhouse with Milton Katselas. He was when I did move, thank God I found him, because I really needed like a home base. I needed some place where I felt safe, and, creatively I could do what I had to do to learn about acting. And he was my teacher for 28 years. I really didn't study with anybody else while I was here. And I just, that place was my home. He died in 2008. And that was when I kind of slid into, I slid into a lot of things. I kind of fell into teaching after that, like around 2010. But anyway, wait a minute, what was I talking about? Oh, yeah, so I remember when he first started talking about, in class, the business side of things, it was like revolutionary. You know, nobody was talking about that. It was like he was telling, because Milton was a director who came from Broadway and film director. He was a very practical guy. I saw you just did an interview with Kathy Graff.
Yep.
She was in class with me. Jeanette Goldstein was in class. I mean, we had an amazing group. I was in class with George Clooney, with Michelle Pfeiffer, with, Tom Selleck. All these people were in class. And
did you know Bruno?
Who?
Bruno Marcattoli.
No.
He was in an acting class with Tom Selleck. I don't know if it was Milton Castells, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. All I'm saying is this aspect of doing administration for your career on the business end of things and starting to think of yourself as, a commodity or a business. I mean, now everybody talks about branding and, this and that, classes for all of that stuff. And there's classes for the whole social media thing, if you're going to be an influencer.
Yeah.
And they're saying to the younger actors, that you got to have a certain number of people following you, or you're not going to be able to get an audition and all that stuff. That's kind of terrifying. But
yeah, I got to tell you, when I got your email back, your first one, and the first line I see before I read the whole thing was, I looked at your Twitter and I thought you were going to follow it up with, you don't have enough followers to interview me.
Oh God, no, I don't pay attention to that stuff. No, I just wanted to see what you were about. I just wanted to see,
yeah,
who are you interviewing? What are you doing? I'm just suspicious by nature. That's it.
Yeah. Well, because I have had a lot of people who have said that. People who I used to admire and I don't so much anymore.
Why? Because they said what?
Because they're superficial and saying, oh, you got to have this amount of followers to interview me. And I'm just...
Really?
Yeah, and I'm just like, why? Does that mean I don't know what I'm doing, I mean, what the fuck?
Well, actually, I was going to ask you, what is your purpose in doing this? Why are you doing these podcasts?
Well, let me tell you. Okay, so I told you about my accident in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as after my accident, I decided I wanted to pursue showbiz. So I went back to stand-up comedy. I stayed on stage a year and a half until I moved up here to Reading. And there's no show business up here, but me and my mother, we had to move up here because we lost everything in 2013, and we were struggling at the time of my accident. I mean, struggling. And I decided, okay, I'm going to start a podcast in my own room, And I love horror and science fiction. And at first, this podcast was just horror and science fiction based. And then after a while, I thought, you know what, I'm not going to limit myself. I'm going to just interview everybody. I mean, it's still, horror and sci-fi still plays a big role on this podcast, but I interview everybody and stuff because I'm just the biggest fanboy geek. I've always loved old entertainment. I'm 37. I just had a birthday last week, and I love old entertainment, and I love hearing people's stories about their journey because I've had an incredible journey, especially the accident in the last 5 years has been the most important part of the journey for me. So I want to hear stories about how they made it and why, certain aspects of their career didn't work out, because I interview only the best, the most talented people that I think are talented.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for including me, and that sounds like a very worthwhile purpose. I mean, I kind of discovered after doing this teaching thing that, I started thinking, why am I doing this? I don't even know, what am I doing here with this stuff? And especially during the lockdown, it's been a time of reevaluation, like what's important and what are you trying to do here with your life? Mm-hmm. And, I kind of discovered that I just really like connecting with people, and I enjoy talking about acting and, I've got a pretty good eye as a teacher in terms of being able to see what people are doing and what they could be doing, what's possible for them. And I'm very, I think, if you ask them, I think they would agree, very encouraging and positive, without being overly, oh, you're great, this is great. You know what I mean? I'm not that kind of teacher. Like I said, I'll kind of tell them the straight scoop. But I believe it's possible for people, because I believe it was possible for me. I came from nowhere, so if it's possible for me, it's certainly possible for you. That's kind of my approach to the teaching,
Right.
So it sounds like you have a similar thing that you're kind of learning while you're doing this. You're kind of like, well, first of all, it's great that you're interested in other people, and then secondly, how that applies to your own life, so.
Yeah. And, I listened to... Yeah, and I listened to early interviews, and I cringe. I can't believe that, I was so starstruck or nervous interviewing a certain person, and the questions I didn't ask, I just cringe. But, luckily, I've had a lot of people come on multiple times for more chances, and just for the fact that I've charmed them and they like me.
Yeah, that's great. For the first time, I bet this guy. What's his name? Oh gosh, I can't remember his name now. But for the first time before the pandemic hit, I was asked to do one of those conventions, one of those the Hollywood Show convention at the Burbank Airport.
I saw you booked for it, and I was going to go until the pandemic started.
Well, it got canceled. Yeah,
yes.
Everything got canceled.
Yes.
What's the guy's name that organizes this?
I don't know. I'm
friends with him, and I can't remember his name now. That's terrible. But anyhow, I was kind of excited about that because we've been talking about me doing it, and I thought, oh, this is going to be cool. So, yeah, I would have loved. I could have met you in person. You could have just showed up there, and I would have met you in person.
Well, it's not too late. Hopefully, it will happen in the future. But I was looking forward to it. So was my mother, because we wanted to meet the entire cast of Grease. And
oh, cool!
Yeah, and it was the same weekend as the horror convention Monsterpalooza, which I go to every year. And this is the first time that they were both in the same weekend. So I cried for days. I did.
Well, listen, when you start talking to these horror people, tell them that you have an actress who wants to start doing horror movies.
Okay. Well, I've been talking to these people for 3 years now, and I'm going to continue doing it, so don't worry, I'll bring you up to them.
Yeah, I'll give you part of the commission. So
awesome.
I'm very that's what I've been thinking about lately, is that I really want to do some horror movies. I've done a couple,
yeah,
and I really enjoy them, and I just think, like I look at what Lynn Shay is doing, Lynn Shay.
I haven't interviewed her yet, but she's brilliant.
She's fantastic, and she totally reinvents herself every time, and her career just keeps going and going and going, and I just thought, maybe I need to find some new way to enter the party.
Yeah. I'll tell you something, though. There's a lot of crap going on behind the scenes at horror cons. There's this specific guy. I give you his name and email to stay away from him. He's booking all the major horror stars, and he's doing some really shady stuff that you could avoid if you ever encounter him.
Yeah, well, I'll ask you about that if I ever get a horror a horror movie that gets me to the convention.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely pick your brain about it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
So getting into TV and movie roles, I saw that according to your IMDb, you made your TV debut on the Dukes of Hazzard spinoff Enos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I did. I mean, I remember the title Enos. I didn't know it was a spinoff of Dukes of Hazzard. I don't even remember, did a chip.
Yeah.
I know my first job was one line. This is what got me my union card, was one line on Mrs. Colombo. Not Colombo, but Mrs. Colombo.
Yes.
And then, there's like a lot of other stuff that I don't quite remember, like a lot of little TV parts, but
yeah.
I'll tell you, that was part of, when my acting teacher started talking about the business side of things, he had a thing called terrorist theater.
Mm-hmm.
That was for people that were in class who he thought were talented, but weren't booking jobs. And the idea with terrorist theater was, if you didn't, he would give you a date, like 3 weeks away or something. And if you didn't get a job in that amount of time, that was a paying union job, then you were out forever. You were out of class. You were out of the theater forever.
Yeah.
And I was one of those people. So I was on terrorist theater 5 times. And I know you're going to get around to asking me about body chemistry at some point here, but
of course,
body chemistry was the 5th time, and the last time that I was on terrorist theater. But it was basically, what it did was, it just kind of made it a game. You know what I mean? It made the whole idea of auditioning and actually asking for help and asking for people to, help you get in to be a casting director or whatever. It made it more of a game because it was so desperate. I mean, we were all so desperate. We didn't want to get kicked out. We didn't want the shame and humiliation of that, So we would just like make all those phone calls, do all the things that you have to do, to connect with people. I mean, like you emailing me, you know what I mean? That kind of thing, that takes courage, to actually reach out to somebody and ask, hey, would you do this, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, so it made it where it was a little bit easier to do it. But a lot of those little TV jobs were things that I got that way, where somebody in class would say, hey, I'm friends with this casting director. Let me call him up and see if he'll do me a favor and just give you a couple of lines to get you off of terrorist theater. And that's what we would do. The soap operas were great. Like, I was a reoccurring on General Hospital and on Days of Our Lives because you could approach those casting directors and they knew us. They knew the game. They knew terrorist theater, and you could just call them and say, hey, I'm on terrorist theater. Can you help me? Can you give me a line or something like that? And, they would do it. They would, say, yeah, we'll make you a reoccurring nurse, or you'll be a reoccurring this or that, kind of thing.
Yeah.
A lot of those jobs were like that.
Mm-hmm. What do you remember, though, about Chips?
Nothing. I know the name of it because I've seen the residual text for years. But it was Rock Devil Rock. I don't even remember what I played. I think I was a reporter.
You were a photographer. Yes.
What was I?
You were a photographer.
I was a photographer. Yeah. I don't remember it.
John Astin directed that episode.
Oh yes, that's right. And I remember being so impressed, and I loved him.
Mm-hmm.
He was so sweet to me.
Yeah.
So I just had a small part. He was so generous and lovely.
Yeah, and also, let's see, Elvira is in that episode, Cassandra Peterson, and Donnie Most right after he left Happy Days.
Really? See, you know more about it than I do.
Yeah.
Oh.
Every time someone was on Chips, I have to ask if they saw any bit of Eric Estrada's ego.
No, I don't remember interacting with him at all. But I do remember
John Astin.
John.
Yeah.
One thing of Ed Asner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard mixed responses to Ed Asner.
Oh, Ed Asner is fantastic. I did a reading of a play with him,
Mm-hmm.
and he's the biggest flirt ever.
I know.
And he's just, raunchy, and
Yeah.
he's what now? I don't know how old he is, but he's got so much life energy, and I love him. He has a fantastic sense of humor. Got along with him great. He's great.
A colleague of mine was lucky enough to interview him end of 2018. I listened to it, and he says to him, he said, Mr. Asner, you're so good at playing a curmudgeon. Are you really a curmudgeon? And he says, hey, want to fight?
You would too, yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Love him.
He gave him a good interview, I have to say. And then you were on the Paper Chase series.
Oh, God. You know what? I don't even think that's right, because I don't remember that at all.
Okay.
I don't think I was. I don't know what that. I don't know how that came about. That it's on IMDb. I know it's on IMDb.
Yeah. It doesn't say
I don't know.
it doesn't say that you had a character's name, so it can't be right.
Yeah, I really don't know how that got on there.
You were in the movie Tough Guys.
Yes, and I just reconnected on Twitter with the director, Jeff Canoe.
I know Jeff. Yeah. I interviewed Jeff a couple of years ago. He's a really interesting guy.
Yeah, he was great. We were talking about, just like this year, we were talking about, it was just this year that we reconnected. We were talking about how many takes we had to do where, Kirk Douglas, I'm like this horrible customer.
Yeah.
And Kirk Douglas is a waiter, and he dumps a bucket of
water on you.
of ice water.
Yes.
Ice water. Had ice in it. And we had to do that several times, so they kept having to dry out my hair and redo my hair. And,
Oh.
And Jeff and I were laughing about that. How many takes did we do of that?
Next time I watch it, I'm gonna say, "Oh my God, I know her hair was probably dry or wet a few minutes ago, and now it's dry again."
Yes, but what a thrill to. I always had a crush on Kirk Douglas and Burt Lancaster, and
Yeah.
to be able to have one of my first jobs be with him was amazing. It was great.
My grandmother and I used to watch that movie all the time because she loved Burt Lancaster, Kirk Douglas, and Eli Wallach, and she just laughed so hard, especially at Eli Wallach just being hilarious as that villain, and
Yeah.
that was like one of our favorite movies we used to watch. My grandmother was an Italian who was Sicilian and from North Beach in San Francisco. Yeah.
That's what I was going to tell you when you were asking me, the Haight. Did I go to the Haight? No, I was usually in North Beach. That was my favorite area.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm half Italian, so I
Yeah.
felt very comfortable there. I loved North Beach, but it's changed a lot. The last time I was there,
Oh yeah.
they closed a lot of the famous places. The coffee shops and.
I was there the night of my accident, as a matter of fact. I was at I was at a couple of the local bars there, including a strip club there.
Oh.
It was a pretty bad night.
Carol Doda's place there.
Carol Doda. You remember Carol Doda?
What?
You remember Carol Doda?
Yeah, I do. I remember the flashing neon sign that they had out front. Yeah.
You remember she was a movie host on Action 36 KICU?
No, I have no clue. I just remember that area.
Yeah.
And the guy with the Tommy gun. What was the name of that club?
Oh, we had the Hungry Eye and the Garden of Eden and a couple other
Oh, yeah.
ones.
I remember all those places. No, I used to go to Enrico's. Remember Enrico's?
No.
Coffee place, restaurant, late night coffee. Anyway.
I didn't spend a ton of time there, but I went to the strip clubs there, and that night I was at the Hungry Eye, and then we went to another place in which I blacked out and don't remember anything after that. Yeah, but
that's not good.
Yeah, but but Carol Doda, yeah, she hosted a movie show on our local UHF station, Action 36, which is now owned by Fox. It became a corporate station. You go on YouTube, you can see it back when it was just a little UHF station where they would show classic movies and everything. I miss it. Yeah, it's terrible now. But at least they show episodes of Seinfeld on there.
Oh, good segue into the Seinfeld.
Oh, we'll get into that in a bit, though. But I was curious. You guest starred on Night Court, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember anything from that?
I was the Night Court hooker. That was a category that a lot of actresses fell into. Mm-hmm. And it was with, what's the actor's name that was in The Fighter with Mark Wahlberg?
Not Larry O'Kett.
No, Jack McGee. Jack McGee. And I don't remember the other actor's name, but yeah, I actually have a picture of that.
Harvey Jason?
Excuse me?
Harvey Jason?
Not sure.
He was in that episode. Sure. And King Curtis and Ken Lloyd. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember. But anyway, you know what I remember most about that show is that it was a different time. What was it, the 80s? It must have been the 80s.
88. Yeah.
88, yeah. You know, that was when, I had a co-star part, small part, but they booked you for the whole week. Which nowadays they don't do. If you have a small part, you're in and out in a day. Mm-hmm. But in this case, we were there for the whole week. And what the main actors did, which was so incredible, was each day they took turns taking all the guest actors out to lunch. Mm-hmm. Isn't that just the sweetest thing?
Yeah.
That was out of their own pocket. They didn't have to do that, but everybody did it except for one actor. So I probably shouldn't say who it was, but he wasn't one of the main people. Do you remember Charlie Robinson?
Yep.
From that show? Charlie was the sweetest to me. He was super kind, and so was
Harry Anderson.
Harry Anderson, he was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were all very sweet.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that show was hilarious. I love that show.
Yeah.
So how did you get cast as Claire in Body Chemistry?
So like I said about the Terrace Theater, I had been in class for about 10 years doing these little parts, only when I was forced into, getting out there and saying hello to people. And a guy had come into class who was going to be my future ex-husband. Mm-hmm. And we started dating, and he had just come to L.A. He had only been in L.A. a few months, and the guy started working right away. He just took off. His career took off. And I thought, uh-oh, this guy's going to leave me in the dust if I don't get my act together. I better start working, So I had that with the combination of the teacher putting me on Terrace Theater. Mm-hmm. And so I had a real strong fire under my butt to get some work. And I came up with this plan that I would call all the people who I knew thought I had some talent. Mm-hmm. And I would say to them, you've been really supportive to me. I need to get a job, an acting job. Can you just take 5 minutes out of your day and think about who you know that would appreciate my talent that you could introduce me to? And so I did that with several of my classmates, and one of them was Mary Crosby's husband, because Mary was in class, and her husband, Ed Latimer, now lives in Florida. I don't know if you know Ed.
No.
But he did a lot of movies for Corman also.
I've probably seen him then, because I'm a big Corman fan.
Yeah. So he was, you probably have, because he worked with Cat Shea, director, you know, a lot. Anyway, so Ed said, well, you know, Mary's getting ready to do this movie, the Corman movie. Let me introduce you to the casting director. And so that's how that happened. I mean, he introduced me to the casting director. I didn't know anything about it. I knew it was like Fatal Attraction. Fatal Attraction had just come out and was a big hit. Knew it was kind of a low-end version of Fatal Attraction, and that I would be, you know, reading for the Glenn Close part, essentially the psycho.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, I just applied myself to the work of getting the job, you know, doing a good audition. They kept back because nobody had heard of me, and they were like, well, Mary Crosby says she's a good actress, but I don't know, maybe we can get somebody that has a name, or, you know, so they kept bringing me back. And then finally Mary just said, because they actually what it was they wanted Mary to play the psycho part originally. And she said to them, no, I'm going to play the wife. You need to cast Lisa as the crazy one. And so it was because of her putting in that good word for me that I got the job. They actually called me, the casting director called me on Thanksgiving of 1989. That's when we did it.
Did you have any reservations? Like, did you think, oh, do I have to get naked or anything like that?
Yes, I did have a lot of reservations. You know, the woman who directed it, Christine Peterson, told me that she wasn't going to go for, you know, the sensationalism of it. You know, she was gonna try to make it work so that it wasn't gratuitous. I mean, listen, you know, Corman, some of it's going to be gratuitous, but
of course,
we tried to have our head be in the right place in terms of not, you know, in terms of trying to elevate it, you know, a bit.
Yeah.
And she made me feel really safe. And the producer was a woman also, and she made me feel very safe. And I thought, okay, you know, I'm going to go for it. I'm the lead in this movie. Let me just go for it. You know, I needed to jump in, so I did. You know, and Mark Singer was incredibly supportive to me and made me feel comfortable, and you know, took care of me on set because he, you know, he's a professional and he knew more about camera than I did. By the way, you know who the cameraman was on that movie?
I'm guessing.
No, don't guess. It's Hayden Michael. Hayden Michael has gone on to do some incredible films. Look him up afterwards. You'll see it's Phaedon, P-H-E-D-O-N.
Okay, I was going to guess Frank Darabont because he was a cameraman on some movies before he became a director.
No, it was Phaedon. Phaedon Papa Michael was the DP on it. On the first one.
Nice. Yeah, my grandmother loved Mark Singer, especially when he was on Dallas. She was pretty devastated when they wrote him out of the show. But yeah, working with him must have been great. I love that scene where you got his hands all tied up and you look like you're about to get ready to give him a blowjob.
Where is that? In the car, in the van?
When you're in the bedroom and he's like saying, "My wife is home," my wife is home.
Yeah. Well, he was great to work with. He loved acting. Mary was great. Everybody, it was like, if you love Corman, you know that the whole Corman enterprise was kind of like a training school, it was kind of like a playground, because everything was right there on Main Street in Venice.
Yeah.
And, all the sets were built there, and it was like being in film school, so for me, I learned a lot doing it. And, that first film believe it or not, had a theatrical release.
Oh, yeah.
It actually played in Westwood at the Crest Theater.
Mm-hmm.
And it played in theaters around the country as well, I think, but
yeah,
where people really noticed it and where it was helpful to me was when it went on cable. Because back then they had a different distribution model or something where...
That's how I found it.
Huh?
That's how I found it on HBO or Cinemax, one of the two.
Yeah, it was, that's what I was trying to remember. But I think, it made the rounds on all those channels. Like HBO, I think it also went to Showtime.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a whole different structure back then. But that's what I discovered was that a lot of the casting directors who started calling me in after that was because they were watching it late at night. They were watching TV and,
mm-hmm.
maybe they had never heard of me before, but it kind of opened some doors, Unfortunately, some of the doors were too similar to, what I was doing. I was trying to get out of that, you know what I mean? But
yeah, that always happens, of course, and
yeah,
that's the unfortunate part and stuff. Another great actor that's in the first one, I've been trying to get him on this show, is David Kagan.
Oh, why just trying? David would talk to you, I would think.
I've emailed him a couple times and I haven't heard back.
Oh, I'm surprised.
Yeah, because he was great in Friday the 13th Part 6, playing this really mean sheriff, and I heard he's a really nice guy in real life. So
He is, very nice.
Yeah, it would be great to interview him, and hopefully I'll get to. But you remind me of Glenn Close in Fatal Attraction, the way you put the lobster in the boiler.
Well, it's the same,
Yeah.
It was a rabbit, right, in Fatal Attraction. And
it was a rabbit. Yes, it was like a little bit of her and a little bit of Jessica Walter in Play Misty for Me.
Yes, I love Play Misty for Me, yes.
That's a great movie.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great movie. And in the second one, you got to work with Gregory Harrison.
Yeah.
I emailed...
And Robin Riker.
Yeah, I emailed him years ago, and he took the time to wrote me a very nice email back. I'm talking like in 2002 or something, long before the podcast.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, no, Greg is lovely. We didn't talk for many years. I think he moved up to Oregon twice for a period there. But he came back, and we both ended up reconnecting through Henry Jaglom. if you know Henry, who directs a lot of independent films, and we started, traveling in that circle, and so I would see him quite often. I haven't seen him in a couple of years, though. But yes, another really talented guy, very nice person to work with. And Robin and I stay in touch. I was producing a play in 2010 for a friend of mine, and she came in to audition and ended up getting the part of the diva, in the play. She's another one who has had an amazing career and still is working and, always at the top of her game.
Wow. Yeah, and John Landis plays the radio guy.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
I'm a huge fan of John Landis.
No. Was he the radio? that was what's his name? The guy with the teeth.
Martin Downey Jr. is in it.
Martin Downey Jr. Wasn't he the radio host?
Well, John Landis plays a radio host, too.
Oh, really? I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember all the details, but I remember both of those guys, and it was really a treat to meet John Landis. And Martin Downey Jr. was funny, and he was great to hang out with. I think, wasn't Clint Howard in that one, too?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, Clint Howard.
Too bad John Landis didn't cast you in anything after that.
I know. What's up with that? He should have.
Yeah, and also Cynthia Edinger. You remember her, the blonde?
No.
She's been in a lot of stuff since the 80s. I'm going to reach out to her at a certain point. Yeah. She looks like a movie star from the 40s with that blonde hair. She looks like a Jane Mansfield or Marilyn Monroe type.
Oh, okay. I'll look her up when we get off the phone.
Yeah, she's very talented. Did you refuse to do 3 and 4?
No. Roger sold the franchise to Andrew Stevens.
Yes.
Company, and they wanted, I think, wasn't it Shannon Tweed and...
Shannon Tweed. And Jim Wynorski directed them.
Oh, he did? I didn't even know that. So they went in a totally different kind of direction, as to what I understand. I mean, Adam Simon, who directed the second one, was trying to give it more of... It's interesting because he and I were talking just recently on Facebook, and he really went for a certain kind of look, and he was going for something a little bit more artistic in terms of the way the movie looked and the way, he had a style in mind,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that they went that way on 3 and 4. I don't know, because that was when I was out. So I kind of lost touch with the whole series after that.
Yeah, I like them all, though. I watched all those B-erotic thrillers back in the 90s when my parents were asleep.
Yeah.
So then, how does Seinfeld come into your life?
Well, yeah, so you were doing stand-up comedy. My first job was as a waitress at the Comedy Store.
Really? Oh, we got to talk about that.
Yeah. Well, I was waiting for you to get to Seinfeld, and then I would have told you. So when I was there, it was the 80s, and that was kind of the heyday, for a lot of comedians. And,
right.
Larry David was there doing stand-up, and Jerry, and Michael Richards, and, all those guys, David Letterman, Jay Leno, they were all, that was that time period. Robin Williams was doing improv. So I met a lot of those guys, and then, I worked there, I think, for 2 years, and then, after Body Chemistry, I started getting a lot more auditions, and Seinfeld had started, but I wasn't in touch with Larry or Jerry. but I was on the lot, the CBS Radford lot, auditioning for something, and I ran into Larry, because that's where they shot Seinfeld. And, I just hadn't seen him in a long time, and it was like, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? And congratulations, I'm so happy for you, Seinfeld, that's great. Within a week, he brought me in to audition for the show, and then I booked a part, and then he, kept writing me in, had the writers write me in, so I ended up doing 4 episodes, and that was because of Larry, and, that was also, like I said, trying to get out of the box of, well, these erotic thriller, type of parts, these are the kind of parts that Lisa plays, kind of thing. Nobody thought I could do comedy. Nobody thought I would be funny. And to be fair, Seinfeld wasn't like a real, over-the-top, broad comedy. It was based in reality, It was more of a real thing, so I could handle that,
Yeah.
And then, him bringing me back for 4 episodes was just fantastic. And then he brought me in on Curb, same thing. He's just, I know he plays a real curmudgeon on TV, but he's one of the sweetest, most loyal, and we weren't big friends, we knew each other. I always liked him.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we were hanging out buddies. I think I probably gave him a ride home a couple of times, from the store.
Yeah.
But otherwise, he was just a very generous and kind person,
Yeah.
And, great guy.
Oh my God! So, what years did you work at the Comedy Store?
I must have been there. It was right when I came to LA, so it was probably like 81, maybe.
Did you know Lori Jacobson?
No.
She was there as a waitress from, I think it was October 81 to October 82. She told me.
That would be around my time, but what did she look like?
Okay, she looks like Velma from Scooby-Doo a little bit. Short red hair, shoulder-length red hair, glasses, total free spirit, kind of a hippie chick.
No. When I was there, Kate Kirkpatrick was a waitress.
Oh, I think she knows her, yeah.
And she and I just reconnected on Facebook recently. And a little blonde girl named Sandy, like the head waitress. And then there was a tall waitress named Robin. I don't remember Lori.
Yeah, oh my God. The first night that she was there, Mick Jagger came in with an entourage, and she almost got fired that night because she kept messing up things because she was so starstruck that he was there. She loves him too,
Yeah.
And
when I was working there, De Niro came in because he was doing research for King of Comedy.
yes.
And he would sit in the back and watch the comedians. He was very low-key.
Yeah,
And
he was,
Johnny Carson used to come in all the time.
yeah.
And he would come in with a group of guys, and I waited on him a couple of times. He would tip me a $100 bill. In retrospect, I thought I should have had him sign that instead of spending it, but
Yeah.
at the time I just needed the money. It was a great time to be at the Comedy Store.
Oh yeah, Lori told me, she was going to work one day. She's going into the OR, the original room, and she sees Mike Binder fucking a waitress on the stairway. She said,
Ooh.
a lot of crazy stuff happened in that place. She told me.
Yeah.
Did you ever see a ghost?
No.
Yeah, she had a ghost encounter. She writes books about ghost encounters in Hollywood, and the Comedy Store is a big part of that book.
Wow.
Yeah. So you got to see the early Sam Kinison, Andrew Dice Clay there, huh?
when he started taking off,
Yeah.
Because I wasn't there when Jim Carrey was there either.
Well, you're lucky you weren't there when he took off because there was a lot of shootings, a lot of fights there. It was a crazy time after that.
Wow.
By 86. Yeah.
There when Andy Kaufman was wrestling women.
Yeah.
I was there for that. I never met him. I didn't talk to him. He kind of scared me, so I didn't really talk to him. But yeah, that was a wild time.
Yeah.
Crazy time.
That so that explains why you know Barry Diamond and a lot of people.
Yeah, Barry Diamond. Yeah.
Wow. Do you know what my favorite Seinfeld episode is that you were on?
Which?
The Cigar Store Indian.
Oh, really?
That episode cracks me up. I was in the hospital the first time I saw it, and it was one of the funniest things I ever saw, I thought.
I like the close talker. That's my favorite.
Oh yeah, was it Judge Reinhold who was the close talker?
Yeah, Judge Reinhold.
Yeah. Did you work with Peggy Lane?
No.
She was
right. Yes. She was a stand-in, wasn't she?
Yes, she was.
Yeah, I remember her. I sure do.
Well, I'm going to tag her in this because she's a dear friend of mine, and she's got so many fond memories about working on that show.
Yeah, she was there all the time.
Yeah, she
was. I think Cigar Store Indian was probably the first one I did, and she was in that group. We were playing poker or playing cards or something.
I have to go back and watch it, but it's most likely, yeah, she got to do little like background stuff. Yeah, but years later, she did an episode of King of Queens where she was an ice cream vendor in an ice cream costume, and Patton Oswalt falls in love with her. It was really creepy and weird and odd, and that's how I actually decided to reach out to her because it was kind of cute and endearing, and I thought, it would be nice to talk to the person in that costume, and that's how we became friends.
Well, tell her I said hello.
I sure will. She's full of a lot of love, and so she'll be happy to hear that I talked to you.
Yeah, great.
And then you got to. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, are we going to be talking much longer? Because we maybe should wrap it up because I got to jump off in a few minutes.
Oh yes, I'm almost done. I was curious, what made you get into teaching?
Well, you will relate to this because you said you had a real kind of change in your financial situation in 2013. Is that what you told me after the accident?
2015, yes.
2015, okay. So you remember in 2008, 2009 when the market tanked and we were also having the writer's strike going on here and everything just kind of went to shit. So I basically lost all my savings, which was in the market, and I realized, I'm going to have to get some kind of a job, and I just, was looking around for what I could do, and somebody said to me, do you think you could teach? And I said, I don't know, I never thought I would have the patience to do that. I could try it, I guess I could try it, and they said, yeah, we'll just try it. So I started teaching at the school in the Valley that specialized in international kids. And, they would come over for 3 or 4 months on their visas and then have to go back to their country. But it became something that they really enjoyed and I really enjoyed, and it seemed to be successful, and my class was getting bigger and bigger, and then they ended up giving me 2 classes, and it just kind of was magical in the way that it just worked out, and it helped me financially, and I loved doing it. And then, some of the students said, why don't you come over here and teach, in our country? Mm-hmm. And I said, well, you set it up, and I'll come over there, Mm-hmm. And that was how it happened. So I just sort of just followed the flow of what was happening. And so for the last 5 years, I've been going twice a year. I mean, obviously this year I'm not going to be able to, but I've been going over there twice a year and usually teaching in 2 or 3 different countries. And been amazing because I love to travel, and like I said to you earlier, I love talking about acting. I love connecting with the people, and it's been a great experience, So
Yeah.
hopefully I'll be able to do it next year. I did do a Zoom class with the school in London where I teach.
Right.
Because all the theaters are struggling right now, and
Yeah.
I just said, listen, I'll just do it for free, and you guys take all the money, as a donation, as a fundraiser donation.
Yeah.
And so we did that, and that was pretty successful. So I may end up doing a Zoom class with the Paris school later this year.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how things go. Who knows what's going to happen, when we can travel again, when we can open theaters again. I just, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
I know. I'm super scared about the future of entertainment.
No, don't be scared. We'll adapt. It'll come around.
Yeah.
It's going to take some time, and we're just going to have to figure things out. But you know what? There's always obstacles, and you always have to get through them, and you will. People will.
Do you get a satisfaction from teaching that you don't get from acting?
I get satisfaction from it. Is it a different kind of satisfaction? Yeah, I guess so. Sometimes when I'm doing my traveling teaching thing, it's almost like I feel like sometimes I'm doing a one-person show on the road. Like I'm just I'm touring my one-person show,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a deep question. I'd have to really think about that to answer it. But
I ask all teachers who are actors. I ask them all that question because sometimes
what do they say?
Sometimes I get yes. Sometimes I get it's equal, but rarely is it ever no. It depends on the person.
It's satisfying. Like my teacher used to say, I teach what I need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes I feel like that's what I'm doing. When I'm teaching, I'm kind of talking to myself in terms of what I also still need to learn,
Mm-hmm.
It's different, but it's really enjoyable. It's enjoyable because they get something out of it, so you feel like, you're contributing and that what you're doing is valuable, And with acting, you feel like what you're doing is valuable, but sometimes you don't know unless you get the audience reaction, the payoff,
Yeah. Have you listened to an episode of this podcast?
I listened to a little bit of Jeanette.
Listen to a little bit of it. Okay, you didn't hear us play My Secret Silly Game?
Uh-oh. No.
Okay, every interview ends...
How you end? Is this how you end your interview?
Yes.
Okay.
This is...
Lay it on me. What's your secret silly game?
This is a series of slumber party questions just to be goofy and dorky,
Okay.
Put you on the spot. So I ask the question, you answer it, and then you ask me the exact same question, and I answer it.
Okay. How many are there?
There's about 5.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Lisa, are you ticklish?
Yes. Are you ticklish?
I am very ticklish, yes.
Okay, good to know.
What's your favorite part of the body?
Favorite part of the body?
Could be anything,
Yeah.
man or woman, it don't matter.
Man or woman, but not necessarily me.
It can be you.
Is that it?
It could be you too. It don't matter.
I'll go with 5.
Thighs. Wow, that's a new one. I haven't heard that one.
Well, because I used to run and I still work out pretty hard, so I like thighs on me, on other people. Yeah. So what's favorite part of the body?
The belly button.
Oh, yes. I saw you said something, show me your belly button. I was like, what the hell is that? Okay. Like belly button. Okay, good. All right, next.
What color are your toenails painted?
Right now? Are you kidding me? Have you been to a nail salon?
Nope. Not now. I haven't.
That's what I mean. No, so they're au natural.
Same here.
Okay. Yeah, okay, there you go.
They were purple with sparkles last time.
Oh, wow. That's it.
Yeah, I like to go elaborate and brighten them up.
Okay.
What would you say is your best personality trait?
I'll go with honesty.
I agree. You have a gift for honesty, and that's what I like about you.
Oh, thank you. What's yours?
My sense of empathy and the fact that I have no filter.
Ah, I like that too.
Oh, thank you.
No filter is a cousin of honesty, right?
Yes, I would say so. Never thought of that, but yes. And then, my favorite question, is there a stinky smell that just makes you gag?
Oh, why is that your favorite question? That's horrible.
It's my inner child coming out.
It's your no filter question.
Yeah.
You know, that horrible smell like when you're driving and it smells like rotten egg?
Of course.
What is that?
I believe it's tar.
Or sulfur?
Sulfur, yes.
Yeah.
Sulfur or tar.
Okay, and I'm afraid to hear yours, but go ahead.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you have kids?
No, I do not.
Okay, so this might affect you because people with kids aren't affected by this. Farts and feet.
Oh, but I was married, so...
Okay, so you are affected by it.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's almost like having kids, so that's fine. Okay, good. All right, I accept that from you.
Yes. Do you know Kate McGregor Stewart?
No.
She's an acting teacher out in L.A. She told me that's the name of my memoir, Farts and Feet.
Oh, that's
I don't think I would use.
know,
I don't think I would use that title, but I would definitely put a blurb on the back of the book with that.
yes. Yeah, well, for you, yes, that definitely works as your trademark question.
Yes. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for coming on today.
It's been a pleasure, Tommy. Lovely talking to you. And what happens with this now, this thing you've recorded?
I'm
You
good.
put it on your Twitter page, or where does it go?
I uploaded on YouTube. I'm gonna edit out that moment, of course, where I had to change phones, and then it will be on my Twitter, Facebook, all those places, and of course you can retweet.
Yes, I will, absolutely. And so you're on Facebook, okay? So I'll find you on Facebook.
Oh yes, I'm very active on Facebook. We got a lot of mutual friends and all that.
Okay. Well, great. Thank you for the experience. My very first podcast.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, my very first. And carry on with your mission.
I feel so glad. I've given a lot of people their first podcast, and I'm glad that usually when I do it, it works out. You know, that I asked them easy stuff and it was fun. So I'm glad that I got to break your podcast cherry today.
Yes. Well, thank you for going easy on me.
My pleasure, and you have yourself a great day.
You too. Take care.
Okay,
Bye.
bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Lisa Pescia. Ain't she a sweetheart? What a very nice lady. Great stories. A lot of fun. I enjoyed talking to her. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Add me as a friend on Facebook. Join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes.